Welcome to From Marines to Cybersecurity. My name is Brandon Benjamin. I'm here to talk about my journey. We'll get into a little bit more about me. Currently, I'm a cybersecurity instructor with Evolve Academy. Today, presenting with me will be Eddie Hartmann. He is a cybersecurity analyst with Evolve Security. Does a lot of stuff with the boot camps. So he will be talking a little bit later and giving a live demonstration on our Cyber Lab. So I will get into the beginning of our slides, and you can hear me okay, right, Eddie? Just want to make sure my
yes, sir.
levels are
Loud
good.
and clear.
Cool. All right. So I wanted to start off with, everybody starts off with like an overview, and I thought it'd be funny, this is VetSecCon, a bunch of veterans. I'd start off with, an operations order with, the old SMEAC layout. So of course our situation, we're at VetSecCon. Hopefully everybody's having a good time learning some new stuff. Mission, we're going to absorb some information, try to retain that knowledge gained from all these industry experts that we have here, and further our personal development. How are we going to do that? So some of us are going to do a little bit of storytelling. Me, that's going to be my part. Then we'll have a Q&A, and then we'll have a live demonstration. Like I said, Eddie will be taking care of that in a little bit. Admin and logistics, clearly we're using Hopin. It's my first time using Hopin. I don't know if Eddie, is this your first time using Hopin as well?
Yes, sir, but we're making it work.
Yeah. So a couple little technical issues this morning trying to get things to work, but hey, we got it working, and we're here. So, and then of course, PowerPoints. All the veterans are going to remember the Death by PowerPoints. Those were so much fun when we got to do our yearly courses that were required that made us fall asleep. So hopefully we don't do that here. Oh, excuse me. Well, hopefully we won't do that here, and we'll be a little more involved. And then of course we'll have Cyber Lab, like I mentioned before. Evolve's product that they use to teach the Academy boot camps. And Command and Signal, like I said, you've got me here. I'm Brandon, and then Eddie as well. He'll be looking at the chat since I can't see it right now, since I'm presenting the presentation. Then we'll flip-flop, and I will be taking questions. I'll look for those in the chat while we go forward. All right. So I wanted to kind of kick off my part with just a little quote. I found this out of a book I was reading a while back, and it's a book kind of like on leadership, but talks about some other things, organizational business things, and it's from General Stanley McChrystal, who's a retired four-star general. And it goes, there's likely a place in paradise for people who have tried hard, but what really matters is succeeding. That requires you to change. That's your mission. And it's kind of something I harp on a little bit later on when I talk about my story, where I had to basically change to meet some of the goals that I was looking for. So the wonderful "Who am I?" slide is finally here. Of course, the Linux users and hackers will appreciate hopefully the "Who am I?" at the top. Like I said, my name is Brandon. I'm a dad and a husband. I have two kids. One's a high schooler, which I still can't believe that I have a high school daughter right now. That's a lot of changes going on, and that is something that I've had to learn how to deal with. I have a younger boy in elementary school, so hopefully we have time to prepare for him to deal with all that. But yes, I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran. I was a reservist, 5811 military policeman. I was in from about 2003 to 2010. And I am also an avid PC gamer. I mostly play first-person shooters, but I'll dabble with other things, MMOs. I was recently playing New World, if any of you know that game. And then Age of Empires came out yesterday, so I probably spent a little bit too much time on that instead of focusing on some other work. But hey, we're still here, right? We're moving forward. I do build my own PCs. Trying to think when the first one I built was. I think it was before high school or right at the beginning of high school, something like that. Of course, I had to beg my parents for money and worked for it. But yeah, I've been building them pretty much my entire life. The first game that I ever did really play though was Sopwith. That's that picture in the bottom right-hand corner. If anybody knows that game, hit me up afterwards in the chat, and we'll have a little talk, because that just shows you how old I am. And then the last thing I put there was aspiring good leader. And you're probably thinking, why didn't you just put aspiring leader? Well, it's not, I don't want to just be a leader. I want to be a good leader. I saw a study a while back I think it was in 2019, and they polled like 16,000 people from the ages of like 18 to 35, and 80% of them said that they felt like we had a crisis, a leadership crisis right now, just because we didn't have enough leaders out there, and not enough leaders, but enough good leadership. So that's why I put that good leader part on there. So diving deep a little bit more about my time in the military, and then of course my law enforcement career. I graduated boot camp on a Friday, or I'm sorry, I graduated high school on a Friday and went to boot camp the same Sunday. My family was not happy. My mom mostly. My dad was a Marine as well. He was active duty, so he was fine with it. He knew that's how things went. But my mother was not very pleased. But I went to boot camp, finished my training at Parris Island, South Carolina, and left there. Wanted to go to college. It didn't work out. I got accidentally activated for almost a month. So I had started college late because of boot camp. And then when I came back, I was like, hey, I'm going to college. And so I started all my classes late. And then like a month later, or 2 months later, I got activated to be deployed. And then it wasn't until somebody like asked me a question. I don't even remember what it was. And I hadn't been to my MOS school yet. I hadn't been to Marine combat training at the time, which was a requirement to be deployed anywhere. And I'm like, no, I haven't completed any of those. And they're like, you can't be deployed. So you're being deactivated. So I didn't go on that deployment. So, but it kind of messed up my college years. So I ended up not going back. It just didn't work out for me at that point. So fast forward, December 2005, I ended up getting actually activated for deployment in the end of 2005, and we left for deployment in 2006. We spent that work up in 29 Palms, California. If anybody's ever been out there, it's wonderful weather. It doesn't get very hot. It's desert. It's a very sunny location. I'll just say that. Yeah, spent some time out there, and then went to Al-Anbar province in Iraq. We traveled pretty much all over. We went through Ramadi, Fallujah. We were stationed at both camps there. Baghdad. We went all the way up to Mosul and Tikrit. And we did a lot of convoy security type stuff. That's what we did as Marine MP reservists. Like, we don't do the base stuff where you pull people over for DUI or whatever. Like, we don't do that kind of stuff. You know, we get activated for deployments, and we go out and we do field MP stuff. And that's convoy securities, VIP escorts, route security, route clearance. We would do detainee handling, stuff like that. But that deployment, it felt like at least most of the time we were, outside the wire for that majority of that deployment. And there was some stuff that I'll never forget from that deployment. One of the things that I wanted to touch on from that deployment was, this was kind of the first time I really had gotten a feeling that I might have a above average knowledge level with technical skills. And I was asked to kind of be a subject matter expert for our communications equipment. And any of you that know the old Prick 119 radios and all the 156 handhelds and all that stuff, like you had to usually have a communications person with your platoon or company to help you with manage those devices. We didn't. We had one person for our entire company, and they got taken by our battalion. So we had to figure out and kind of scramble to learn how to use these things. We had to basically build vehicles from the ground up with radio equipment, antennas, and all that kind of stuff. Nobody, when we got there, we didn't have any of those vehicles. So we had to parse a bunch of pieces together. Excuse me. And so I kind of became the subject matter expert on that stuff. And like I said, that's kind of where I felt like I had become, or it felt like, oh, I might be able to do something more than just being, what I am. So, but I was determined to be a police officer. That's what my dad was. And I grew up always wanting to be a police officer. My family is big on service and to your country and community. And that's what I wanted to do from the get-go. I just kind of didn't know what I wanted to do till I turned 21. So I was so determined when I was deployed to get into a boot camp, because when I left, I was 20 and I turned 21 while I was in Iraq. So then I was eligible to go to the police academy where I am. And I would call my parents, and we would be on River City. If any of you remember that might have been deployed, which River City is RC, it stands for reduced communication. So if somebody died in the area recently, or there was a large troop movement, we wouldn't be able to speak to our families for sometimes, days or a couple weeks, depending on what it was. And we'd be in River City for a couple weeks, and I'd call my parents and I'd be like, hey, did you guys get me in the academy yet? Did you call them? Before they could even get out, like, hey, are you okay? Is everything good? Like, I was so focused on trying to get into the police academy. Yeah, I wasn't worrying about anything else. And it honestly gave me something to focus on during my deployment. So I came home, and in 2007, I completed the academy and went to work full-time in corrections. And I really could talk about this forever. I worked in law enforcement and corrections for 14 years. I was a certified police officer, but my main focus was working inside the jail and handling people after they get arrested. I was promoted to sergeant. Later in my career, I did that for about 5 years. I won an Officer of the Year award in 2016. I became an academy instructor. Like, I did a lot of things. There's a lot that goes on in a jail setting that I don't necessarily care to share in a professional environment. But it was a tough job, and we'll get to the reasons why I chose to leave that here shortly. And then I want to go talk about another deployment again. I went on that one in 2009. But the weird thing about this was I was supposed to get out just before, like 2 weeks before they activated us, which was unfortunate. So I ended up staying, in the reserves for that extra time and stayed on that deployment until 2010. That one was really weird. It just got off to a weird start. We weren't in 29 Palms to start this one. We were in Camp Lejeune, and I don't know. We were still doing our workup, and I got a phone call when I was walking to the chow hall one day, and I thought it was a bill collector. Like, hey, the wife hadn't paid a bill while I was gone or something. I don't know what it was, and it was like an 800 number, and I answered it, and it's this guy saying, hey, this is so-and-so from the DoD bone marrow program. Like, you might be a match for somebody. Would you want to donate your bone marrow? And I was like, I don't even think that's a decision I can make, because I'm being on active duty right now. And he's like, well, talk it over with your chain of command. So I talked to them, and they basically did have to get approval. I had to get approval from them to do it. And we had to walk through what was going to happen procedurally, and then what my recovery time was going to look like. They were concerned about being non-deployable afterwards. And turns out there is a slow recovery process, but it's not enough to make you non-deployable. So I went ahead and did it. It wasn't the normal procedure you would think for donating bone marrow. It was, which is, sticking the needle in and they draw the bone marrow out. It's not like that. I think at the time it was experimental. It might be more commonplace now, but it was giving me a medication for 4 to 5 days. And what it does is causes your body to produce an absorbent amount of stem cells. So much that it forces them out into your bloodstream. It's extremely painful. So by like day 2 and 3, like, I was hurting, but they gave me some medication, of course, to deal with the pain. And at the end of it, all they do was, after like 4 or 5 days, they stick a needle in your one arm, they pull it out, they pull the blood out, they filter out the stem cells, and then put your blood back in with, what they don't need. And it was mostly painless, but that was, a once in a lifetime opportunity where, literally I got the opportunity to save somebody's life. I mean, how many times do people get an opportunity to do that? And I was like, there's no way I'm going to turn this down if I can help it. Of course, it wasn't really my decision, but I'm so glad that my unit gave me an opportunity to do that. And it was a rewarding experience. We got to go to Washington, D.C. My wife and daughter and I all flew from where we were to Washington, D.C. for the whole week. So that was nice to visit with them while I was working. But that was interesting. And that happened just before my second deployment. We went on that deployment. During that deployment, our company was kind of spread out, and I was tasked with assisting one of our gunnery sergeants, basically create a 24/7 on-call convoy security team. We would escort record companies and the Navy EOD teams to deal with ordnance. I gave several periods of instruction on various topics, such as rules of engagement, IED recognition, enemy TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures, how to use communications equipment, Blue Force trackers, For these of you in that time, you remember the Blue Force trackers that seemed to never work, or the GPS wasn't connected, or there was a lot of moving parts with those things. So I taught classes to Marines how to use those things. So I was responsible for about 20 Marines, all their serialized gear, weapons, vehicles, communications equipment. That's a lot for a 24-year-old to be responsible for. But, the Marine Corps constantly prepares us to handle things like that by always getting us ready to step into that next role. If you're not a fire team leader, somebody's training you to be a fire team leader. If you're a fire team leader, somebody's training you to be a squad leader. And that's just how it goes all the way up the chain of command. So that's great. So we talked about my career and what was going on, and I wasn't happy with my career in corrections. The burnout's super real. We're constantly dealing with the worst of society. Occasionally we have somebody that just made a simple mistake and they're not that bad. But a lot of the times when we're dealing with people, we're dealing with the worst of the worst. Dealing with the worst of the worst. And, it just seems like there's never an end in sight with that. And really there isn't, because humanity is not, I don't think there's ever going to be a time when there's not evil in the world. I would hope that there would be, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. So, there's a lot of physical stressors that are involved in that job, in that line of work. There's mental stressors, psychological. You're constantly dealing with people in crisis. You're missing holidays all the time, birthdays all the time. Any name a family function, you're probably missing it. And in my case, like, I worked night shift pretty much my entire life, my entire career. When I started, I was on, we were on 8-hour shifts, working 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. Because of my seniority, I couldn't do much better than that. By the time I was able to get, night shift or day shift, I could get Saturday and Sundays off on night shift. So I was like, well, I'll just stay here because then I can have every weekend off. So it's like, you got to balance those, what is better. But like I said, I wasn't happy. My retirement outlook wasn't great. I was still going to have to work another 20 years before I could even retire because of my age. So I started looking at plan B, and I've always had an interest in the IT field. And over the years, it kind of morphed into cybersecurity. I was trying to figure out where it morphed into cybersecurity. There's not one thing I can put my finger on that, like, oh, that's when I started thinking about cybersecurity. It kind of morphed over time, and as I became a bit, just more aware of cybersecurity in general, and that it was a thing. And of course, it was becoming more public with ransomware and things like that. So I was kind of curious about that field, and always wanted to get into that field. And so once I finally made the ultimate decision, that I was going to transfer into this new career, a transition to this new career, I had to make another decision. How was I going to get there? And my options were get a degree or find a boot camp. I felt like at the time those were the only two options for me. And college wasn't a great option. I couldn't and didn't want to wait 4 years to get a degree. I needed something that would get me started as soon as possible. Plus, I didn't trust myself to do the work alone. I needed some kind of accountability. I needed a structured workload that I could focus on. And just the knowledge in general that I didn't have. I needed somebody to teach me that. So of course, I did some online searching, and that's when I came across, Evolve Academy's Cybersecurity Bootcamp. And then just before I started, I figured out what I really wanted to do. And that's when I found this guy, Heath Adams, or the Cyber Mentor, which some of you may know. So early 2020, I found a video of his on ethical hacking. And right away, I was like, okay, not just cybersecurity is what I want to do. This is exactly what I want to do. So fast forward, I started the Cybersecurity Bootcamp in February with Evolve. I was still working full-time at the time. I got about 6 weeks into the Cybersecurity Bootcamp program, and Evolve Academy announced they were doing an OSCP bootcamp. And I thought, oh, there's no way. That's exactly what I want to do. There's no way. So I weighed my options. I had to basically lobby the staff to let me switch to the OSCP bootcamp. It was impractical for me to do both. I was still working full time. They met on the same days and times. and like I said, I had to convince the staff to let me do it. And I think I was able to, with my experience with Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, and OffSec's Proving Grounds, that I was able to convince them that I was, worthy of attending, basically. And just a word of caution: this is not the path for everyone. It's not the intended path. Um, my recommendation is finishing the cybersecurity boot camp and moving on from there. But I'm sharing you guys with my story, and my story is a bit unique. So I do want you to know that. So I started the OSCP boot camp in April, and then I left my job of 14 years in June. I wanted to focus solely on OSCP and move that and make that my future. So I left my job because I wanted to force myself to do it, and I felt like if I didn't leave, I would never do it. And it was a great experience. It was doing the academy, passing the exam. It's kind of like a mock OSCP exam for those of you that know about OSCP. There's nowhere that I know of, at least in that aspect, that you can practice a 24-hour exam. So that was a huge plus for me. You have to learn how to manage your time, take great notes, and generate a complete report for a full grade. So it was a great experience. After completing the course, I was asked to join the staff as an instructor, and I really enjoyed passing on the knowledge. I enjoy it right now, passing on the knowledge that I've gained with others. I know I'm not the greatest or the best hacker out there or whatever, but what information I do have, I love sharing it with other people. And it's always rewarding to share with people any information that you have, to me. And watching people grow over a period of time is such a wonderful thing for me. So those of you that have never instructed before, I encourage you. It'll help you learn better. And you'll hear Eddie kind of talk about learn, do, and teach. Like, I wholeheartedly believe in that. I think people learn more from teaching. So, and then a little bit what I'm doing now, after a little bit of hesitation, I'm kind of venturing out now and looking for my my first full-time pen testing job, which I know is going to be a huge step for me. So I'm totally looking forward to that. I do have some stuff in the works there. So hopefully before too long, I'll have that first pen testing job. But I do want to say to the Evolve staff, because I know some of them might be listening, I just want to thank them for affording me the opportunities they have. And I know that 100% I would not be at the position I would be right now in my career with the knowledge that I have without the boot camp. Just from beginning to end, I was able to reflect on, and teaching allows me to reflect on my progress from start to finish. And so it's definitely been a wonderful journey. So with that, do we have any questions, Eddie?
We do not at the moment, Brandon.
Okay.
But for all of you that may have some questions as you think about Brandon's journey from where he was in the Marines to where he is now, go ahead and toss them in the Q&A section of the chat. Brandon will be taking a look at the chat for the remainder of the presentation, so he'll do his best to go ahead and answer those for you. While we go ahead and finish up the next half of this presentation, which is going to be a little bit about the team and the community that Brandon joined, here at Evolve Security and Evolve Security Academy. Firstly, Brandon, thank you so much for taking the time to share. I know not everybody is super excited about giving their story and helping others navigate through, but that's what we're learning this industry is about, right? Helping people make the same journey, make the same transition, maybe miss some of those pitfalls, make some decisions sooner that maybe it took you too long to realize. I can speak for myself in that regard. So thank you. You're an extraordinary team member, extraordinary teacher, and we're super glad to have you here. So if you move a moment while I go ahead and pop up the rest of the presentation here. All right, so as Brandon had mentioned earlier, my name is Eddie Hartmann. I am the Academy Analyst here with Evolve. I do a lot of interfacing with the students. I have actually a graduate of the EICP bootcamp, the cybersecurity bootcamp that Brandon actually started with before moving on to the OSCP bootcamp. And I'm also a career transfer. I come from the culinary industry, which definitely not the same as military, but I can really relate to what you said, Brandon, about being hard on your body, hard on your time. If there's a holiday, you can plan to miss it, right? So equally beneficial of that career transfer and that journey. So my role here today is to really just talk briefly about Evolve, who we are, what we do, and sort of our role in in helping people make that transition, educating future professionals, and a little bit of how we do that through a demonstration with our CyberLab platform. So as far as who Evolve is and what we do, right? From day one, our whole mission has been to help students with learn, do, and teach back. We found that this is an extraordinarily powerful way that we've been able to teach students to become job ready quickly, and especially over the last year with goodness nearly 100 veterans coming through our program. During the remote online session that we've all been dealing with over the last year, it's been doubly true. Brandon alluded a lot to the benefits of rigor, the benefits of a program, a plan, built-in accountability, and we found that is extremely valuable for the type of bootcamp that we offer. The fact is that practical, boots on the ground experience is absolutely the best way to learn anything, and that mindset is built into every course we design and teach, and the CyberLab platform that I'm going to demo is what makes that possible. So we have learned that InfoSec is a natural, logical next step for those with the protect, defend, and serve mindset. And lest I forget, thank you all of you that are veterans that are listening. Thank you so much for your service. We would certainly love to help you continue that attitude on in a career that, as Brandon had mentioned, and as I've experienced, is extremely valuable. So Evolve has developed a really beneficial and broad and diverse network of veterans and non-veterans, and our flagship bootcamp comes with built-in personalized job search and career transition support provided by a dedicated career coach. So those of you that will be wondering, how do I make the transition? It's one thing to learn the skills, but how do I actually make that leap into the job? That is, for me, again, transferring from culinary, I had the same questions, and we have the answers. We can help you get there. The attitude and the grit that got you through your time in service, you apply that here, and you'll find a welcome home and a very successful career for you waiting on the other side. So many of you are also probably familiar with the support that the industry at large offers veterans, but if you're not, I highly encourage you to spend some time networking with your peers and those other connections you might be able to make through VetSecCon. There's tons of resources, and even as a non-veteran, I've been exposed to an enormous support network that I'm just really excited to see is available to you. And beyond that support network, the industry is very favorable towards veterans and towards the background. One of the big reasons being the character and quality of individual that your background speaks to. People are very eager to hire you. They need to find you, and we're here to help you get the job skills necessary and the networking skills necessary to make that happen. So a little bit about our training. They are boot camps for a reason. They're highly structured. They cover a lot of material. They're intense, and they focus on developing technical skills that are needed on the job immediately and less on more vague theory. The goal is to provide that built-in accountability and a real sense of camaraderie that you can bring directly onto the job and become job ready. For me as a cook, I've often said, you can be the best cook in the world, but if you don't know how to move around in the kitchen, we still need to teach you stuff. And our goal is to make it so that you not only know how to do what you're doing, but that you're able to navigate the industry at large when you do get to the process of getting your first job in the industry and making that transition. So a little bit about a GI Bill update. We're continuing to monitor the way that the legislation is going. Currently, the act that was put in place to extend the GI Bill to remote and online classes, it is expiring at the end of 2021. But things are changing on the ground often. We're in direct contact with a lot of people that know what's happening, and if you're curious how that would look for you, definitely I recommend scheduling a 10-minute call with one of our advisors to help you understand what we know and get you up to speed on how you might be able to use your benefits moving forward into 2022. We are planning on doing an in-person class in April, which should be GI Bill eligible, and we're also looking to expand those classes to different markets in the future so that we can serve you at a much larger audience and not just here in Chicago. So a little bit more about who we are. We love that we consistently help students come out of our boot camps as top tier professionals with the skills necessary to be effective immediately. Our goal is to do our part in closing the talent gap with highly qualified professionals and people that are passionate, that bring that background to something that they can really get behind. The flagship boot camp we offer, which is our ESCP certification, the Evolved Security Certified Professional Bootcamp. It's a 20-week live online part-time schedule at nights, 4 days a week with every other Saturday. It's got a built-in apprenticeship program with a capstone project that we actually perform with a live client. So we get you in the field and working with a client right at the end so that you can come out fresh and ready to go. As I mentioned, we're not just teaching the skills for the job, we are teaching you the skills necessary to get the job, including the networking, the telling of your story, the navigating the transition, and building those resume building skills. So, and as you can see on the image here, pardon me, we also do have a penetration testing certificate. That is the OSCP bootcamp that Brandon has joined us not only as a participant, but as an instructor. And if you're a little bit more advanced in your career, I certainly recommend checking that option out as well. So, and when it comes to job placement, we have a really good track record. We are different than other boot camps. We're owned by Evolved Security, which is a premier cybersecurity firm that basically is a natural outcome, the academy of that security firm. We have professionals that wanted to teach what they do on a daily basis, and we do that in our academy. As a graduate, it was obvious to me that the program was built by people that are doing what they're teaching on a daily basis, whether it be live instruction, a recorded lecture, or a hands-on lab. Everything was real world and the experience was relevant. So we are very fortunate to have been ranked #1 cybersecurity bootcamp by SwitchUp and Access Cyber actually recently, again this year. And our job placement rate bears out the quality of the bootcamp with a 94% job placement rate of those that do successfully make it through our academy. So we have an excellent track record. We're growing as a thought leader in the space, and I highly encourage you to get some more information, to check out our meetups, read our blogs, and just join the conversation with us. We would absolutely love to have you. That goes without saying. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pause my share here briefly so I can bring up the demonstration for the Cyber Lab.
And I guess, Eddie, we can, people, when they want to ask questions, I guess towards the end, I guess we can ask, they can join audibly. Is that a right word? And they can speak their questions to us. So I don't know how to do that. Do you know? We could probably figure it out together.
No, I bet you one of our we're smart guys. We made it through the boot camp. I bet you one of our moderators here can help us out if they'd be so kind as to maybe answer those questions in chat, so that we can get that going. So, all right. So welcome to the Cyber Lab. This is what you'd see as a student whenever you logged in and joined for the first time. This is our, as Ed said, our self-contained proprietary learning management system. The goal is to provide a student that is walking off the street day one the ability, without any technical background, period, the ability to function from day one. There's no technical curve. There's no installing of software beyond maybe a password, extension on your browser. So you can be ready to go and ready to rock and start learning immediately. As you can see here, we've got everything from our course contents to a self-contained schedule that we use to break down every piece of the module by not only day, but consumption time, due date. And we even allow you to view recorded sessions of those classes so that we can allow you to be flexible, to maintain your schedule and your life and get the most out of the boot camp at the pace that you need. So while we have the accountability of daily classes and a schedule and a framework that we follow, we have the ability to be flexible with you. We have native Zoom integrations so that you only need to come here and you can get directly to the rooms for whether your main room or your personal breakout group, where you can get a smaller environment to ask questions and work your way through problems. And we have integration with Slack so that you can chat with your group, share files, share insights, share pictures, commands. Whatever it is that you need to make your bootcamp effective, we've got it contained in here. Everything from grades to the instructor bios and your fellow classmates, it's all there. This classmates page is great as well because it allows you to network with the people that are going through the course with you, so that when you leave, you have a network already. You're not out there on your own. You're ready to go. So a little bit more of a deep dive into the CyberLab platform. We teach all of these modules here in 20 weeks, everything from networking to developing a security program, all the way through cryptography and threat intelligence. We have job preparation, and we have even a little bit of hacking involved in here too. So while there's tons and tons of jobs available on the blue side and maybe not as many on the red for the introductory students, we provide you the skills to be able to branch out immediately and get to where you want to be through the goal of this bootcamp. So in here we have everything from video topics to lab topics to module quizzes and competency assessments that are performed one-on-one with a live instructor. And if we take a look at each one of these, you can see that we've got PowerPoints here. You can view these at your leisure. You can scroll through them. You can even download them at the end if you'd like. We've got videos for each topic that are playable directly from the platform here. Sorry if that audio came through there. You can speed up or slow down depending on what type of studier you are. I like to watch them at 2.5 speed because if you can't tell, I talk fast and I listen fast, but that's just me. If you want to listen to it slowly, listen to it in your car. It's available on mobile, whatever you want. We've got it here so that you can do that. Make it full screen, however you want to consume the content, we've got it here for you. And we found that this is a very, very valuable asset for students that are working flexible jobs, working night shifts, working day shifts, whatever it is your situation, the platform can make it work for you. So this particular lab is actually about vulnerability scanning and detection management topic, I should say. And each of these topics then leads into a lab that you perform hands-on live in our platform. So here we've got our vulnerability scanning with Nessus overview. Each one of our labs has an overview with learning objectives, industry context, and the instructions that you need to complete the lab. Now, I want to pause for a minute because this is probably the most unique and beneficial feature that we have in CyberLab. It's the ability to launch a lab within our platform. So I'd mentioned that you don't need any technical acumen to get started. Well, what you see here is a fully functioning, up-to-date, customized version of Kali Linux available for you within your browser. What this does is it allows us to not only give you a fail-safe option that you can use to your heart's content, maybe make some mistakes, and just reset without any need to worry about handling these technical pieces on your own. You can see that this is a live machine. I've got internet connection. My name is Evolve, and we're set to go. Not only do we have a terminal view here, but we've also got a desktop view that allows us to actually use a fully functional Kali desktop. If you've ever used Kali before, you'll notice that this is exactly like what you'd see from a virtual machine. So while we are absolutely able to help you spin these machines up, to use an industry term, on your own, we've got it for you right here. And not only is this platform contained in our cloud environment for you, we have a ton of resources within that environment for you. Everything from network captures to practice using Wireshark, to email headers that are spam, so you can learn how to analyze and determine if an email was legitimate or not. Everything that you need to complete the course is self-contained here. And beyond just this Linux machine, we use a variety of other targets. We have Windows, we have Ubuntu, we have a number of pieces that you can use to actualize the content and to become familiar with it, so that you're not just learning theory, so that you can get your hands on. So this lab is fantastic in that we walk you through everything from the registration and activation, provide the necessary commands with visual help to make sure that everything is going properly on your end, all the way down through the scanning of a live asset that we have available for you that I highly encourage you to search on your own. It's our hack.evolve security.io website. You can see it right here. It's a little bit small, hack.evolve. We teach students how to actually understand what this program is doing, identify vulnerabilities, research them, find out how you can fix it. And if you want to go ahead and take a look at it, this is our malpractice hospital. You're more than welcome to test some live fire on this platform here. It's fully available for you. Hack.evolvesecurity.io. I promise you, it's vulnerable. And if you want to go ahead and have some fun, please do. So this lab is a great example of how we can take a student and teach them a skill, teach them a tool, and get them functional with that immediately in a way that they can take that skill and not only apply it later on in our non-for-profit project, but do it for your own job in the future and know what you're doing. So this is one example. What's really cool about a lot of our labs is that beyond just the basic teaching of the concept, we often have what's called analyst tasks, where we're able to take a student and provide them with a more of a thought exercise where it's a little more challenging. We provide less of instructions. We simply tell you, hey, go find this lab, or go find this service. It's available here. Here's an image of the network that we're using, and answer these questions. So in our network, we actually have what's called the Evolve Medical Center, which is a fully functioning enterprise level example of what a network might look like. You've got doctors and nurses, you've got healthcare, engineering, servers. This whole network is available for students to use at any time, to test against, to practice, to do whatever it is that you're learning against a live environment. So again, I'd mentioned about, working in a kitchen is different than knowing how to move around. This is how we can get you in a position where you know your way around an environment while you're still with a student with us. So this lab is an example of how, we might present you with some questions, present you with a Nessus dashboard using the scans we've already prepared for you to answer these questions. Hey, which subnet has the highest number of vulnerabilities or number of high vulnerabilities? And a student would have to navigate through each one of these scans, understand how to use the system, and find out that, hey, it's the IT subnet, and boom, we can answer, we get the correct answer. If you get it wrong, no problem. Keep looking until you find the right one. So this is just another example of how you can use this platform to answer, the questions, to learn as you're going along, test knowledge, make sure that you understand what's going on. So what's really cool about this is it's not contained in just this one environment. Let's say you got two screens and you want to make a little bit of a bigger view for you. We can pop this right out here, and now we've got a full screen version of Kali. I did mention that it was a fully live environment. So you can see here, I actually went and performed a scan against one of our subnets. And you can see that, as I said, everything is live. It's ready to go. It's ready to test. You can see this is what I believe was our server subnet. We can compare that right back at our diagram here. And boom, actually it was our it was our server subnet. So we went ahead and performed a live scan on our server subnet, and you can see all the information is right here. It's a little bit technical, but the point I'm trying to make is that it's not a static environment. It is constantly available for you to run scans against. Here, we went ahead and ran a scan against a specific IP so that we can validate some vulnerabilities in our system. In this case, we're looking at some certifications that don't match up. This one's for Dr. Tobin, yet the common name of the certificate is for Splunk. A little bit technical, but this is what we're teaching you as we go through the program, is how to spot, validate, learn, and test your knowledge against the software as you're going along. So I have a little bit more time here. So what I'm going to do is actually go to the other side of things and acknowledge that while we teach a lot on the blue team side, networking, security program, understanding how to navigate detection, response, incident response, we do have a offensive side to the academy. We do have a services side. That's what they do on a daily basis. So one of the other assets that we have in our program here is called the Evolve Swag Shop. This is another custom target that we've made available within our network. In addition to this, we have Splunk, we have Security Onion, we have Carbon Black, all of these resources that we make available to students so that they can learn and play around. So for example, if I wanted to say maybe perform some SQL injection, maybe I want to try to log into an account here, I can start firing away and seeing what happens when I try to do a little bit of hacking. An invalid email or password, that's no problem. I'm not concerned. Let's try a little bit of SQL injection. And here we go. Apparently I did something wrong, but that's okay. Nothing ever goes right when you're alive, right? There we go. See, boom, successfully solved a challenge. I got my login as admin, and here we go. I'm able to take the skills that I'm learning in the class and test them in an environment where you might not necessarily get the full instructions, but then we've got the live instructors on ready to go on site and happy to help you. So this is a custom juice shop development that is designed for Evolve students. We actually do have a lab built around this too. If you went over back to our application security, we can see we teach you Burp Suite. In this case is a video and walks you through how to use and install the program. We have a web application testing lab here where we teach you how to use this tool. We walk through the various pieces of it, such as brute forcing passwords, analyzing packets, getting really technical, but not so much that you're just learning all this information. We're actually teaching you, hey, this is how you access the machine. This is how you go ahead and examine these packets. This is what is happening. So for the ability to take somebody from the very beginning of our course where we're just getting started, we're welcoming you to the course, we're teaching you how to use basic things like Slack and Zoom, introducing you to basic commands in Kali Linux, overview and navigation, understanding what application and services are, even as far as just learning how to search effectively, because in this industry, so often you're learning how to find the information that you're learning, how to build on that. We teach everything all the way up through networking and finishing up with our non-for-profit project where we put you in a live environment where you're able to run internal and external scans, perform phishing campaigns, and put everything you learned into practice before we go ahead and pass you on to the final. You pass, and welcome to the world of being a freshly minted cybersecurity professional. So this platform is fantastic. It's constantly evolving. We are, no pun intended, I suppose. We are always looking at developing new courses, keeping current, redeveloping, re-improving everything that we offer for you. And we'd absolutely love to have you in our network and bring you up to speed as to what we offer. So we do have a little bit more available for you all that are joining us for VetSecCon. So pardon me while I get my presentation back up here again. So as a attendee of VetSecCon, we would love to offer you a $500 discount to join the Academy. The first step would be go to evolvesecurity.com/academy and fill out an application. Get yourself a 10-minute conversation with one of our advisors. And when you're on that call, mention that you were at VetSecCon and you got $500 off for our next boot camp. As I'd mentioned before, we are planning on doing in-person classes in April, so you can certainly talk about that as well if you'd like to use your GI Bill benefits. And I reiterate, please talk with us anyway if you're wondering what the landscape looks like, even if you're not considering this right now. A lot is changing. The world has changed over the last year, and the GI Bill is in constant conversation. I'm sure many of you already know that. So set up a conversation with us. We can help point you in the right direction. So it's been an absolute pleasure presenting with you all today, talking to you all today. We'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. Brandon and I are both available on your sessions page. You can see our LinkedIns, connect with us, start a conversation. I speak for myself, but I imagine I speak for Brandon. We're eager to help you navigate this, whether it's just simply through pointing you in the right direction, helping improve your network. We'd love to have you. So join us at evolvesecurity.com/academy and we'll get you started. So Brandon, anything else you'd like to add?
No, we do have a couple questions, and I
Sure.
figured out how to add them. They have to request. And first, we have Isaac, if he's still here. Is Isaac here? And then we'll send Edward. Oh, there, Edward's coming up. How we doing, Edward?
Hey, I'm good. I'm off mute, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't see Isaac in the people list anymore, so
Yeah.
he's gone. But actually, Eddie, answered most some of the stuff I was looking at as far as like flexibility and how that stuff worked. I think I just really identified with you, Brandon. I know we're short on time, so I'll be quick. But I played some old games, and then build computers and doing all that kind of stuff, and then went in the Marine Corps, and then here I am 20 years later, and I'm like, well, maybe I want to do that again. I don't know, because I didn't do it in the Marine Corps, so the transition piece definitely you show it's possible. So I appreciate that. Hopefully the career, I guess the career outlook, that might be a question I have then. How long did it take you to kind of roll into a position, and did you apply to many positions before getting with Evolve?
So I went from basically the boot camp, and shortly after finishing it, I was offered a position. And so, and this journey started at the beginning of 2021. Okay. So it didn't take very long. Now, there was a lot of stuff that I did personally, myself, teachings a couple years prior to that over a slow period of time. Again, I was working full time, night shift in a jail. It was rough to kind of like do it on my own, which is why I wanted that boot camp experience. So, but pretty much the entirety of 2021 I've spent trying to transition into this field.
Okay. All right. I'll open up to anybody else, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for the question, Edward.
In terms of that line of thought, right? How does the transition go? For me, it was much like Brandon, right? You take forever to make a decision, to actually make a decision, to make the change that you need to, and then you take the time to make the decision to act on that change, right? And it's just the nature of humanity. Sometimes we take a little bit longer to make those decisions than we want, but what we found is that when you join the boot camp and you take it seriously and you engage not just in the content, but in the pursuit of fully realizing all the benefits that we have, from a network to the job placement to the ability to gain value from the students that are with you, and the extra resources. I mean, there's a lot out there, and it's easy to feel like, wow, how do I make this change? But the reality is it's just like eating an elephant, one bite at a time. You just move forward, you take one step forward, and before you know it, it's been not only the length of a boot camp, but a complete change. For a lot of people, it's a 180. For some people, it's just a small realignment, but I can speak for myself that we see a lot of results. My income has benefited. I'm at home at nights. I get to see my wife. I don't even have kids yet, so I can't imagine how excited Brandon is that he gets to be with his family, take a load off of his back, take a load off of his knees. Maybe be around some better association. So while the transition is different for everybody, it is infinitely worthwhile engaging in the conversation to see if that's something that you want to try to make a reality for yourself. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. And like I was touching on earlier, one of the reasons why I left my full-time employment. I don't recommend that, right? I clearly don't recommend leaving full-time. If you're making money or you have a job and you got a family to support, that's important. But we were safe enough financially that we made a joint decision that I was going to leave. And that was for me to jump in with both feet and say, hey, I'm doing this. And because I'm stubborn. And if I wouldn't have left my job, I don't know that I would have gotten here. That's, again, this is a personal story to me. Everybody else, you have your own story. So just take that for what it's worth. My story doesn't have to be your story. Your story is your story, but I'm just giving you a look from my perspective that it's possible. Just like Edward said, it's possible. And if you believe that there's a vehicle out there that's going to help you, like I said, I think boot camps are definitely a help and a step in the right direction. So like I said, thanks Eddie for the opportunity here and hanging out with you to speak. So it's been great. And I know we're pretty much out of time right now.
I've also had a blast and thank you so much. We got one last question here. From Beckham, pardon me if I pronounced that incorrectly, asking what you would suggest is a good way to pivot from IT auditing into cyber. Graduated a few months ago and took an auditing job because they paid the highest salary. I can relate to that, but bored and not challenged at all. Degrees in cyber, but have no experience besides what they did in college. In the Army, they were in infantry, which didn't help at all with computer knowledge. Well, the good news is that you have a background in that already, right? So you have some resumeable experience and you speak the language, right? If we forget the obvious plug for, Evolve's Cybersecurity Bootcamp that, does bring in a lot of the technical experience. It seems like you said you already have a degree in cyber. Networking is the key, being part of the conversation yourself, doing self-study. One of the reasons, obviously, that we love the bootcamp is the accountability nature of it. But my recommendation to somebody that's always curious is stay curious, stay learning, and just engage in the resources that are available to you to start building out those skills so that you can speak the language. You already have the experience in cyber, but it's just a matter of maybe building out some of those technical sides. But good for you on having a job, good for you on understanding that being challenged is important. And like I said, my recommendation is Brandon posted a link there. I'm sure that's an excellent resource.
Yeah. That's the thing is there are so many domains of cybersecurity out there. Go do some research on them, talk to some people that work in those domains. Okay. And I don't mean like just chat message them, like hit them up, say, hey, can I talk to you on the phone? And some people aren't willing, and that's fine, but you need to talk to people and find out what do you enjoy doing? And that's where you ultimately want to get to. But if you know it's cybersecurity, you got to start walking in that direction. Right. And that's what Evolve Academy does for you. It helps you walk in that direction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Coffee chats are huge. It was a wild thing for me to have the idea that I could actually call somebody, end up on a coffee chat, sometimes virtual these days. But this industry is remarkably willing to engage with people because of situations like this, where we give back, where we take the time out of our day to pour back in with the expectation and excited nature that people will do that again. So Ryan Walters, I see your question. Do we have a course for DevSecOps? We actually are in the process of developing a course for secure software development. OWASP is updating this year for its four-year turn in 2021, and we do plan to be right on the money with that as far as developing a course to help people from both the red and the blue side learn about secure development operations and how to do that effectively. So I do believe we're out of time, Brandon. So I think we have to wish
great
everybody,
questions, by the way. Great questions.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks, Eddie. It's been fun. And thanks to VetSec for having us. It's been a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. Ditto that. Well, cheers, everybody. Have a nice day.